What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue with our schedule preview projected record series. Pittsburgh is up next, coming off of a disappointing season, just 3-9. Who saw that one coming? This is one of the more consistent programs in college football, and they didn't even come close to making it to a bowl game. And what's crazy about it is they beat Louisville, who was a team that went to the ACC championship. So it was just a really weird year for Pittsburgh. I mentioned this on the NC State video, going all the way back to last year. I had a feeling, I said this, again, way before the season started last year, I had a feeling that either NC State or Pittsburgh was going to disappoint. And, I didn't think 3-9 disappointment, but Pittsburgh definitely disappointed. And you look at their schedule, they played West Virginia and Cincinnati in the non-conference. Those were two tough games, obviously, there. Also had to play Notre Dame in the non-conference. So it was a pretty difficult schedule for the ACC. But they played Florida State. They didn't have to play Clemson. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's crazy to think this team went just 3-9 last season. Will they turn it around? Well, this is the schedule for 2024. The non-conference, once again, is Cincinnati and West Virginia. This time at Cincinnati, West Virginia at home. And they do get Kent State and Youngstown State, so don't have to play Notre Dame. That obviously makes it a little bit easier. You look at the home schedule, again, Kent State, West Virginia, Youngstown State. They'll play Cal, Syracuse, Virginia, and Clemson. And yes, Cal is now a conference game. That still just blows my mind, the way college football has changed. That's a conference game. But these are all, the first three games here, Cal, Syracuse, Virginia, those are games that Pitt might have a chance to win. Clemson's obviously going to be tough, but they've got chances. They've got opportunities at home for sure. You look at the road schedule. There's Cincinnati, North Carolina, SMU, Louisville, Boston College. That's a pretty tough road schedule. And you look at Boston College potentially being a game they could steal on the road, maybe Cincinnati. But overall, I think it's going to be tough for Pitt to get a win on the road in 2024. So they'll start with Kent State on August 31st. Then it's at Cincinnati on the 7th of September. Home for West Virginia on the 14th. Then Youngstown State on the 21st. Then they get a bye week, their first bye week before playing on the road at North Carolina. So they'll play all four non-conference games to start off the season, then jump into ACC play. Cal on the 12th. Then they'll play Syracuse is actually going to be on a Thursday night. So after playing Cal, they will have some extra time off before playing Syracuse the next week. And actually, I guess that's their other bye week. So it's kind of weird how their bye week is. Their bye weeks are so early, but they'll play Cal, and then it's not a bye week, but they get some more time to prepare, extra time to prepare for Syracuse. So again, it's kind of weird how that sets up with the schedule there. But after that they don't get any breaks, so they get SMU on the road on the 2nd of November, then Virginia on the 9th, Clemson at home on the 16th, and then back-to-back road games with Louisville and Boston College on the 23rd and 30th. So after you get that second bye week, which again comes really early, and you have that Thursday night game, it's going to be, a really tough stretch there from SMU down to Boston College. That's going to be a tough stretch, and you wonder how many games can they win. So they've got to get off to a good start. They've got to take care of business against Kent State, Youngstown State. Probably need to pull off a win over Cincinnati or West Virginia, maybe beat Cal or Syracuse. Again, you're going to need to get some wins before you get to that final stretch of the season. So let's get to the projections. And last year's projection had this team at 6-6, of course, again, just 3-9. I predicted them to go 7-5, Athlon 8-4. So our projection was actually the closest. Vegas had them at 6.5. The over/under at 6.5. So this is a team that really was expected to go 6-6 or 7-5, and they went just 3-9. So let's see what the projection says for this year. This is the scale that we use. We've done this on all the videos. We explained all that. I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it. So let's just jump right in. We'll get to the easy win here, Youngstown State. That one's pretty much a guaranteed win. And then I'm going to put Kent State in the blue. This is an FBS team. They're not horrible. Pittsburgh, again, was not great last year, so I think they will be favored by a couple of touchdowns. But week one, I'm not going to say it's a guaranteed win, but yes, Pittsburgh should win that game. All right, let's look at the next games. We've got games in the yellow. So these are games where I think Pitt's going to be about a touchdown underdog at North Carolina, at SMU, Clemson, and at Louisville. And I might be being a little bit generous here. I'm just looking at this Pitt team And you look at, I know they had a terrible season, but they were good enough to beat Louisville. So they lost a lot of games, but they weren't as bad as maybe the record would suggest. And you have to look at Pitt traditionally as being such a solid program. So I've got them as a tier 4 team, which is the same tier as Cal, Syracuse, Virginia, and Boston College. It's a tier below these teams in the yellow, but it's, you know, they're not that far behind them. And again, I don't really see them beating Clemson or Louisville, probably not SMU, maybe North Carolina. So maybe some of these games should be in the orange, to be fair. But that's what we went with. So we're going to put these games in the yellow and say that Pitt will be about a touchdown underdog. Again, we're assuming that Pitt will be a little bit better than they were last year. They're not going to be that bad, surely. But they may prove us wrong. They may be terrible again. We'll see. But then you got a bunch of 50-50 games. Cincinnati on the road. West Virginia. I think West Virginia is the better team, but it's at home for Pitt. So that's going to give them a chance. Cal, Syracuse, Virginia, Boston College on the road. So these are the games that, you know, they're going to have to win. If they beat Kent State, Youngstown State, and they lose all the games in the yellow, they're going to have to win 4 of these games. They're going to have to go 4-2 in these 50-50 games just to get to a bowl game. That's tough. That is going to be really, really tough. 3-3 probably more likely. But the odds would say when these games in the yellow, you know, they're probably going to pull off a win in one of those. And then if you split the 50-50 games, you win those 2 games against Youngstown State and Kent State, that's enough to get you to a bowl game, and that's what the projection says. So 6-6, same projection as last year. If this team does not improve, though, it could easily be another 3-9 type season. The schedule, just again, there aren't many easy wins, so they're going to have to win those 2 with Kent State and Youngstown State, like I said, and they're going to have to win some close games. They're going to have to beat some pretty good teams if they're going to get to a bowl game. So that's our projection for Pittsburgh. Not a prediction, just a very early projection. We'd love to get your thoughts on this team. What do you think about Pitt? Let me know down in the comments below.